as, what kind of stuff you're doing, and how it relates to the role that we're looking for as a release manager. And then I just, ask you some questions and leave some time at the end for you to ask me questions.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
Okay. Sounds good. So, as you know, I'm Shirali. I'm the Senior Technology Manager here at LuluLemon within the Site Reliability Engineering org. And we're currently looking for a new role on our team, not necessarily a new role within all of digital, but it's a release manager role that we're looking to fill specifically on my team. So the role itself, it'll the SRE is within enterprise engineering, and it's one of the pillars, and we are focused more on cloud and DevOps. So we're starting to incorporate a lot more of the standard like SRE practices that a lot of the Google or industry standards are. And one of the things that we have started to notice is that across digital, each team has their own engineering pod, and they have their own release management process that they utilize. However, it's not consistent across the board. So there's difference in how each team manages their releases. And so what I'm looking for is to bring in a release manager who can create an overarching calendar, and we'd be able to track all the different releases that are happening in digital across all the different teams, have visibility into what's coming down the pipeline, but then also be able to establish a process that everyone can abide by or comply by, so that we know that the process, regardless of which team is doing the release, we know that the process is being followed. And then furthermore, just follow up to make sure that that process is being followed, and that, there are ways to reduce the severities, the incidents that happen in production due to releases. So at a very high level, that's what I'm looking for. I've been with LuluLemon for about 5 months now. I joined back in June of earlier this year. So it's still fairly new to me, and I'm just now building out my team with different areas within SRE. So this is one of those.
All right.
Yeah. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, whatever you want to tell me.
Yeah, sure, fine. That's so I have like total of 11.5 years of experience into IT. So I did start my career as a Linux admin and went on to be a build and release engineer. Once DevOps came into picture, I started to use this new tools of technologies in DevOps and also release stuff and everything, right? So I work for companies like AT&T, and then US House, State Auto, and I'm with Apple for about 3.5 years now. So here my role is more of an SSE SRE. We work under a platform called ISNT. ISNT is more of an in-store and support-based applications where we use like multiple in-store iTunes and these kind of applications like EDAM and other stuff. So these all come under, we are called like a self-service engineering and site reliability engineering team, where my role is more of a lead release manager here. So my day-to-day responsibilities, and also as per the application, we as a whole team support about 60 other applications, but myself and the other 3 individuals who report to me, we support for about, from offshore, we support for about 6 applications and sole responsibilities for the whole team. So in terms of, it might be release, in terms of upgrades and maintaining the stack, it might be the dev stack and everything, right? So apart from that, coming on to my day-to-day responsibilities, it is like designing CI/CD pipelines, working on the front-end, back-end work as well, and also making sure doing peer code reviews for the developers and other things, and doing sprint planning along with, making sure that we coordinate with all the team members and have the sprint planning done in a particular way. That we usually follow bi-weekly sprint. We use tools like Radar, and also we use other tools like Miro for our dashboard and other building as well in Apple. So there are other native tools that we go ahead and use it. So basically, sorry, one second. Some pop-up came up on the screen. I think it's asking for some. Yeah. So apart from that, I don't know. Some pop-up is coming. I'm just closing it. I'm sorry. Yeah. So other than that, I also work on, like I said, start from designing CI/CD pipelines, understanding the workflow from the different teams and things like this, and also making sure we have monitoring tools in place and set up. It might be Splunk for log mining, Datadog for app dynamics for performance monitoring, and also we have a heavily EKS dependent cluster like AWS environment, which we have. So I also work on AWS services along with release part and coordination and also planning. I also work on some of the AWS cloud integrated services. It might be like EC2, VPC, CALB, ELB, and also working on the working alongside with the developers, testing team, and integration teams to make sure that we have everything coordinated for the sprint releases. For every major release or quarter release, we have a major release that comes up. So during that time, we actually make sure that we have this coordination in place. Like, I mean, where we have the code already is already migrated to the where the QA initially the developers they cut out a branch of the develop, and then they I mean a feature branch, and then they kind of merge it into that release branch. Before that, we also have this QA and also the validation like SAT, UAT, and then the pre-prod and prod under before stage. So before any production environments, we make sure that these releases and sprints are being moved on a quarterly list. So whatever the development work has been done until then, we make sure that stuff has been already migrated and we have everything in place. So that way, and also set up monitoring tools like Splunk. We do indexing search once the release is completed, and also work with the DevOps team to make sure that all the CI/CD pipelines are in place. Things like it might be we use Jenkins and Rio majorly. I don't know. Sorry about that. I don't know. There is some help. I did an update just this morning with the latest OS version, and it's just asking me again and again the same thing. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, like I said,
Okay.
working on incident management, P1, P2 issues, and other things.
Yeah. So in your current role, are you how much time do you spend with DevOps versus how much time do you spend in release?
Majorly like 30% in DevOps and 70% in release and managing a team and other things. Like code
Okay.
reviews, it might be peer code reviews along with involving the teams, getting the user stories assigned to the teams, and also making sure the coordination is happening in the first place, so that we interact with the teams to make sure that we have everything in the place for the release, and also the version making sure the version control system, the PRs are all got merged. So these kind of things, validating the PRs. If there is anything for the stakeholder approvals, making sure I reach out to them. So my role is more of an release manager along with coordinating of efforts. So basically, I work on both the sides of the house to make sure that I work with the stakeholders to get multiple stakeholders to get the developer, and also creating some kind of API. So we have multiple API services here. So I use them to call to different endpoints. So this way, we'll be able to work with multiple teams and members at the same time, and also update the Miro dashboards and creating some specific services with the multiple endpoints across them, and also doing some risk reports and the data reports, and also monthly and weekly reports that we send out to the stakeholders and my manager for coordinations and these kind of things.
Okay. So how many releases are you managing per week?
A week, I would say we like I said, I support about 7 applications. So um, we
Or
have
what's your cadence, I guess?
daily,
What's your
actually
release
we have
schedule?
a daily release in our lower environments, which happens. Everything is through EKS, so we have a daily release that happens. So every day, once we work by a 24/7 support kind of role. So whenever the offshore releases are done, we make sure the lower environments releases everything has been taken care in the offshore. So when they're done, they
Okay.
give me some kind of validation points and everything. So once I log in the morning, we make sure I work with the developers and testers to do some kind of validations and also health checks and everything. So once the lower environment releases are completed, I get onto these daily release points at lower environments to validate from our end, and those work before our Scrum, which is happening. So I take care of that. And major releases, like when you meant like version releases, like I said, we follow a bi-weekly sprint. So there is quarter release for every each of the application. So based on it, roughly we handle about like monthly major version releases. It's about like 12 to 13 of them.
Okay. And who is responsible for putting the release plan together?
Yeah, it's me. It's completely myself, and I have some other people working alongside with me. So I draft a template, take the chats, and also do the validations. along with the complete and list. So, if, for example, if an application is going into the release version, so basic things, right? So, which team does the host does the job, and these kind of spreadsheets. We have something called Quip here, so I take the advantage of Quip. So we have sorted out or segregated for each of the work for each of the developers where they commit the code and the URL for the deployment URL. It might be Spinac or something like that. For each of the application, there is like different deployment tools that we use. So based on that deployment tools and what are the endpoints, who is the primary and their contact for them, and also for each of the team, right? And then testing teams, so the developers and the other DevOps teams, along with SREs and post validation team as well, along with integration and SAT. We also something called VIPs here, and after everything is done, we make sure that the traffic is routed at the right endpoints. It's something like a blue-green deployment. Once it is completed, we have like US, Europe, and I mean EU region as well, along with India. So we make sure those data is in replicated and sync up. So we have to get in touch with the sync up team and make sure that VIP is validated. So the VIP validation I take care of myself. It's pretty much straightforward. It's an internal tool like FI. We use Shield here, so I work on it and switch like. Making sure zero downtime across that. We do like aggressive microservices spin up, so that way I'll be able to do that. And then once everything is completed, I send the quip updated. Once the complete updated quip, we already have stakeholders in there. So we have multiple Slack channels for communication as well. So if there is anything that we needed to get approved, we have this automated pods kind of thing in Slack channels that they created. Like use that to get like call people and then get approvals then and there. If we get into any issues, there is like help hyphen different teams names. So we enter into that help channel, create a thread, and then there we get that adequate response for monitoring and things like that. So yeah.
Okay. So tell me about a time that, let's say there was a release that was pushed to production and it caused a severity one incident. Well, what are some of how would you handle that? What is your role in managing that?
Yeah, definitely, right. So whenever we have a production kind of release, or else like we have an P1 kind of or P0 kind of incidents, say one of our paper, one of our EKS clusters went down. So if it's causing a customer impact, we consider it as P0. If it's causing an internal impact within our teams or something like that, we call it as P1, priority one. So these kind of incidents we handle. Our ETA or SLA is less than 15 minutes for P0. If it's for P1, we should be handling it within an hour because internal services get stopped and we have shared services between them, and it might be a production or database and some kind of issue. So first we identify and try to hit the URL, do a curl, and then we do some kind of validations from our end. I get the team open. We have different war rooms for it. We open a WebEx session and a war room. So involve people and also create a new channel for this issue, for this P0 or P1 issue. Get teams to initialize that particular problem, and then make sure that every team is involved along with the developers, testers, and others, and also make sure that initialize the URL along with the schema. Make sure that the base code is in sync, whatever went into the release, and we just compare it and also make sure that the traffic on the load balancers, if there is something like that, and make sure that there is valid JSON at the back end of that instance. So it happened if it's a Kubernetes issue, something like that, we check the pods of that basically any HPA health status of the parts, if something is going into crash loop back off issue, image pullback issue, and these kind of things. So mostly that happens. And also we use Postman. I work with developers to enable the Postman API calls to see if you're receiving 200 OK response, or else if you're running it 24x 5x logs, and also make sure that error logs, application logs have been thoroughly checked. In cloud, we use Cloud Trial. On premise, we check the logs manually, and also in Splunk, we do index search to check the logs to make sure that to identify the problems in the first place. So once this is done, the API clusters, once they're rolled back, and then make sure if it's something that is really causing an issue more than 15 minutes, our target is to roll back the previous version and make sure that we don't have any disruption for the end customers. Once, and also um, um, since we have rollback, we have more time here, then start to roll out the parts and make sure that any corrections need to be made. Work with the developers on the teams to make the new corrections, and also create a new hotfix, or also like a emergency branch kind of thing. And also based on that, we integrate those and then redeploy when it's required, and also fix a time. If it's within the CR time or something like that, we definitely go ahead and redeploy. Or else if it's then to be there fix. So some of the services, right, like legacy applications cannot be redeployed. In that case, we check that, make sure that extend the CRs, or in that cases, we actually fight with the stakeholders for some reason, and then we get more approvals on top of that, and explain them the root cause analysis, and we'll be able to add them to different schema validations and everything. So at least make them trying to make them understand the situation there and what happened in the first place, instead of getting into panic mode. So
Yeah.
sorting out things and then redeploying and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then let's say that have you ever had to go into any of the roles, either at Apple right now or any of the other roles in the past? Have you had to implement any of the release process strategies, or has it already been established and you came on and continue to work with that and manage it?
Yeah, sure. So basically, work both the ways. Wherever I went, there was some default process, and also I created and also enhanced the current process. So I worked on both the sides of it. So I would say, like, we had a strategy as a team. I explained that to my director, whom I report to. So he kind of liked that in my previous organization. And here, for one of the application, they were following like kind of an non-pattern release strategy. So we had to make sure that based on the application release, I had to explain them like, let us go with a zero downtime instead of doing like a rollover deployment. So something like that, where I introduced, so make sure like blue green, right? Say for example, if we roll out currently the blue version and the older version is still in green, and this way we don't have any disruption. We create custom tags. We mark once the version is marked as green, we switch over the complete version and make sure the decommissions, and also we'll be able to specify everything in the cloud formation template and work with the developers in the same pattern, along with DNSTTL and other entry points. So that way, I have introduced this strategy model as well for few applications. And for a few of the applications, they were already a definitive release strategy. So I had to enhance them. Say, for example, they have a release within code deploying Amazon Cloud. So instead, we had everything hosted there within the cloud environment, and to use a new release pattern for it, where you can label and also create custom tags for each of them within, like, it might be from branches, calling like a webhook kind of thing, and specific cloud formation along with traffic and everything, right? So this way, I was also able to enhance the current process and also start a new process overall.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And did you ever have to encounter any type of like any pushbacks or non-compliancy from engineers or teams who just didn't want to follow the new process or the enhancements that you made?
Definitely, there is always someone senior than you when you go to an organization. I definitely encountered such situations, I would say. So I had to overcome few scenarios, explain them what would happen in the first place if you are going through this release, and follow this process. Instead, we follow an iterative approach, and make sure that they understand this process by adding each of the scenario and based items, right? Explain the differences, and we also have done like, let's try this for next couple of releases, like a sample trial run, and then if you guys would think this would be a contextual situation going forward, we definitely can add this to our current process, which would bring more value to the team in terms of resilience and reliability in release management. So that way, everyone would be in sync along with the developers, testers, and whoever, and creating some kind of backups, and also making sure that we communicate in an efficient way with the stakeholders and these kind of things. So that kind of strategy have worked in the before as well, the past.
Yeah. Okay. Earlier in the call, you had mentioned that you worked with like 14, 15 different teams across the board and, doing the cadences of releases with them. How do you stay, how do you have visibility into, who's doing what, when is what release happening, or how are you managing that?
Sure. Like I said, we have a Slack channel for each of the teams. So I'll be able to communicate, and we tag each person separately. And also we have like email chains where we don't interact different things for different applications, but peculiarly, say for example, even in Quip, right, we'll be able to identify that particular application, the particular member, and every day for the lower environment releases, whatever is happening offshore, it is completely handled by me and a couple of others here in the team who report to me here. So I have them do all the validations. I verify it by myself, and also um, So that actually reduces our burden, and also for every major release for these applications, how we handle is we make sure there is no overlap. But in this 8 or 9 applications, like I mentioned, there are like some upstream and downstream services which is shared between them. So some of the applications wouldn't work if the other application endpoint or one of the APIs failed. So that way we make sure one release is done after the other. So since there is dependency between each of the application, or few applications, at least 3 to 4 of them, and the rest of them are completely idempotent. They're single handle, they're singly handled, right? Handle, and then these applications, whatever is shared or else have dependencies. So we go one by one after the other in order, in a sequential order, so that we doesn't fall into any conflict situations, or else like we don't have to run for new stakeholder approvals kind of things, and also make sure that we every time we have a single point of contact to that. It might be dev lead, DevOps lead, or SRE teams and other things, right? And also according to the very well planned document, we follow it with the team members as well.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I know I've been asking a lot of questions, so I'll take a pause. Do you have any questions for me or anything I can clarify on?
Yeah, I would like to know what is the team size and next steps from here, and day-to-day activities. What is the expectations out of this role? And yeah,
Yeah.
things that.
Yeah. So the team size. So for my team, I have 7 DevOps and SRE engineers. And then I have a Scrum Master on the team. And then this would be the release manager who we would be adding onto the team. And we also have a program manager and a project manager that we work with, but they're not necessarily sitting with the team, but they are very much part of the team. They just are split between this team as well as like capacity, performance, security. So we're all part of one org. And then the way I kind of look at it is within my team, I have cloud and DevOps, and then I have SRE, and then I have release management. So there are people sitting under the cloud DevOps and then the SRE practices, and release management is the new pillar that we're building out. So right now there's really no one that's doing release management on our team. It's just that one person who we are looking to fill. So if you were to join, you would kind of be working as an individual contributor, not necessarily having anyone report into you, at least for now, until we were to build out the team. So the day-to-day role is really that. So my team, we're not necessarily building anything. We don't own any one single application or services. We are within enterprise engineering, so we support everyone else. So we support all the other digital teams. And so we have, we'll partner with like OMS and search and browse and even retail, like just depends across the board, all the different services that LuluLemon.com or the mobile app supports. We support all of those different teams, and that's over 50, 60 different teams that we support. Each one of those teams, they are the ones that are responsible for their services. So they're constantly building and deploying, so there's CI/CD with them, but then they also have major releases, and then they also have change management. Within each team, they have their own cadence in terms of how they do their releases and how they manage their changes and whatnot. And some are very good. Some follow through end to end. They follow all the different steps of QA, UAT, put it in staging, test it, put it in pre-prod, and then prod, and do all the checkoffs and sign-offs and whatnot. Some teams are not so thorough, and they do their QA, they push it to prod, or they'll do it to pre-prod, and then they won't thoroughly check everything, but then they'll push it to prod.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah, I mean, so there's different ways of doing what they do, right? We don't have necessarily one formal way that is used across all of digital. So there's no that practice hasn't been necessarily established that says that all digital teams across technology at LuluLemon has to follow this practice when it comes to release management. That's not in place. So that's what we're trying to build, is this one practice. Now, that's not to say that, as a release manager, you're going to be involved in every single release, but I would want that on a day-to-day basis, you're involved with all the different teams in terms of understanding when are their releases happening, have visibility into that, and being able to communicate that to like global operations who's supporting the customer service, and they're also managing like the incidents and gathering the information whenever it does happen. So if there's a major release happening, they need to know that this release is happening so that they can be on a lookout for it, and vice versa. If there's dependencies with other services, then they also need to know that your service is connected to this and this release is happening. So being that liaison between everyone to keep them all connected, having a global calendar that says, which release is happening on what day and what the statuses of those releases are, so that if leadership team wants to know, they have a one place transparency into what is the health of all the systems and all the platforms, and when are the releases happening, and when can we expect such and such feature to be rolled out. Like right now, instead of having to go to each single team, we want to be able to provide that information at a holistic level, that can be found in one place. So that's what we have to build up. So as a day-to-day, because this is a new role, there's not, I can't really say that I expect this, and this, because it's going to change. It's going to evolve. And it's something that we have to work together on building these things out. But these are the things I want to see being built up. So some days it could be that you just focus on communicating and getting information from all the different teams. The next day could be that now that you have all that information, you put together a calendar and you start putting things down on that calendar and managing that. And then, third day could be that you're working on documenting the process of what should happen and what kind of sign off should be there, what checklist should be there, or creating templates for a release plan and a rollback plan. So day to day is going to be different, but those are the types of things that this role would be responsible for.
Makes sense. Yeah, that's a pretty good explanation. So I think that's a high level. I think you pretty much covered everything. Yeah. I'm good there, and I would like to know what would be the next steps from here. Do we have any agenda within like next 6 months? Is it something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we do have our 1 year goal is that we have this entire process laid out, documented, and also implemented. So we would be able to have a visibility into everything. We would be having partnership with the different release managers across digital and get them to abide by this process that we've created. That's a long-term goal, to be able to get that. Then to be able to start reducing any severe S1s, like incidents that happen due to releases. So we need to start reducing those down to the point where there's ideally no S1s that happen due to any kind of release, because we should have been able to catch those bugs before they go into production, right? So those are our long-term goals. In terms of the short-term goals, I think I would work with whoever we bring on the team to set those milestones in place to be able to do that. But some of the things I mentioned earlier is what we're trying to build out. So, someone coming in, I expect that they would be able to so here's the other thing, is that this role doesn't have there's not a lot of hand holding. You're going to be working pretty independently, and I'm going to rely heavily on you to be able to say, you come to me and say, hey, Shirley, in order for us to do this, this is what we need to do, and then document it all, and then put it all together and say, this is the process I have outlined that I want to implement. Like, there's a lot of authority and autonomy with this role, but I also need that person to be able to do that, because there isn't anyone that's going to tell you that, like, handhold you through the whole process and say, hey, I need this, this, and this, right? Like, these are our goals, and you need to figure out how we're going to get there. So some people like that. It's a good challenge, and they like to thrive on that. And some people get really scared because they feel like they don't know what to do and how to go about it, So, and neither of it is wrong. Either way, whatever works for you. But I just kind of want to make that clear, is that this role isn't very much like working with some. It is working with a lot of people, but it's not that you have someone telling you what to do.
I worked with, yeah, sorry to interrupt again. So I worked with teams with very low latency, and also since Apple is a very big organization, so
Yeah.
it's like heavy latency. And yeah, like I should say, I single-handedly like handle multiple teams there. So um, and also use different tools and technology like you said, made individual contributions for most of it since after working like 3 and 4 years here at Apple, so they made me some kind of release lead now because of this vendor issues and everything. Like I had to be just they're just rolling out all tier 2 vendors, so that was the main reason for the project change and everything. So it was like if they for some reason I don't know, there is some VMO under management office and they have some kind of issues with tier 2 vendors whom I work with, which is Infogain. So they're just rolling out tier 2 and then putting in tier 1.
Okay. Yeah. So a couple questions I have is that you did mention that you have a team that you manage that report into you. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm like a couple of people from offshore who
Okay.
takes care of these validations and daily releases, right? We assist
Yeah.
developers with daily releases because of few changes that goes on the cube environments. So Apple has this kind of internal strategy where they have something like cube rollouts. So that is called cube state metrics. It is not related to AWS, EKS, or anything. For few of the applications, it still is EKS. So here you need to do whatever the developers are the daily changes. It goes into the lower environments. Even for the lower environments, there is teams using on a day-to-day basis. Like you can think it of as a DR environment. So we do that on a daily release basis. So there is team who handle this daily release, and I just validate from my end, and I majorly take part in pre-prod and prod here in on-site and everything. Right from documentation and everything is done by me.
Okay. So coming to a team where you are more of a individual contributor and don't necessarily have people reporting into you, how do you feel about that?
I'm okay with it because I don't have to. I honestly, that is really nice for me. I am heavy-handed, heavily handle like multiple applications by singly, so I feel very good about it. I don't have any issues like thinking of with the team. Here, thing is, I need to work and make sure they're working as well. So
Yeah.
that way, but every day I try to keep things on top of it and get reports, status, and everything, and talk to my stakeholders, my manager or director, whomever I report to, and explain them what is the situation and position and everything, right? So they come up with sort of questions if in a release pitch, and they pitch in some ideas, and also they give me some sort of actions that is supposed to be taken care. Say for example, there's a hotfix coming, something like that. So we just have to roll out these new features going forward. There has been, if you remember, recently we had a log4j issue, right? I mean, like 6 months ago, something like that. That was a very big thing, like where we had to interact with multiple teams. Since I was working with multiple application teams, so that they really like a week or 2 weeks, we didn't have anything running. We had everything completely attached to that. So those kind of issues also, right? Those kind of issues. And whenever there is a product release within Apple, and also after product release and during the holiday season and sales time and things like that, we definitely have a lot of hectic thing where we do like more of an individual contribution, and I'm pretty much okay with that.
Yeah. Okay. And then I kind of noticed that your previous positions before Apple, you had been there for anywhere between 6 months to a year. Were they like project based, or what was the reason for them being so short?
Those were project based, and most of the companies that had implementation partners, it might be HCL America, it might be Tech Mahindra and everything, right? So they had their people come in, and also this is like a project based. They definitely they did hire me for 4 months or 5 months or 6 months, so I worked for the time period and completed my project. Once that is done, I was actually switching to another project since I was on a contract basis.
Got it. Okay. All right. And then this position, you've been here for almost 3 years now with Apple. What makes you want to look for a new role?
Yeah, like I said again, I completely got an end-to-end, kind of insider things here. I mean, I know the complete end-to-end process. I still have lots of dependency, but only reason I had to walk out of the project is this VMware issue. So I mean, whenever I speak to a lot of people, like a lot of vendors or calls, they all know about this issue. They told me, yeah, I know we are getting a lot of Apple candidates, so that is a
Yeah.
major issue. So my employer, he doesn't have a direct contact with TCS or Infosys, something like that. So my employer has a contract with someone called Infogame. They are able to sign with my employer directly. So
Yeah.
and they're a direct vendor to Apple. So there are no other layers. And Apple is completely removing these sort of vendors from last couple of months. And they
Yeah.
told us they'll be moving us to a tier one vendor. And at this time, this transfers and everything, they want us to onboard as a full time. My situation is my on 40 and everything got approved, and I had to stick to this guy for about a year. So everything didn't fall into place, so I had to look out for another.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but
That's
I'm
okay.
hoping that things go well.
That's how it happens sometimes. Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Cool. Do you have any other questions for me?
No, I think I'm good here. Yeah, thanks for
Okay.
explaining. I'd just like to know if, the next steps from here and things.
Yeah. So we're currently in our first round of interviews right now. And then we'll narrow down the candidates to move on to a next round of interview, which would probably be with like another release manager from another team and maybe our principal engineer. And then if that goes well, then we would probably do one more round of interview with just like a meet and greet with our director and maybe myself again. And then, so we are looking to move quickly, hoping to have someone, extend an offer out by the end of this month at the latest. So it's just, yeah, we're looking to move quickly. So like I said, this is our first round of interview, and we'll probably wrap that up this week and then move on to the next round next week.
Sure, sounds good. Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the recruiter that you've been working with, and then she can let me know, and I will be happy to answer any other questions if you think of anything.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thanks, Santosh. Have a good day.
You too.